Now, we'd like to take you to a different sort of thing here. It kind of veers back into the what actual fandom generally does, aside from the Fapcast, but kind of merges these two things. It's a marriage, you might say.
Marriage.
I've got this intro.
That brings us together today.
I've got an intro here to tell you to show you what this is about. All right, I'm sorry, that's the wrong thing.
On your left.
On my left. Got it.
On your left, a new segment, maybe a new show if you guys like it enough. Hey, if you like it enough, it could be a whole new fucking channel. So let us know if you like it. So the idea is to go back and look through, at first, like kind of MCU and comic book movies in general, and just look at the politics of the movie itself, look at the politics of the time that the film was created, kind of how those two, either interact or don't. And then, eventually I'm sure we might move on to other stuff like Star Wars or Dune and stuff like that. And just like kind of compare the in-universe lore politics to, IRL politics and just have a discussion about it. So this first one, we're going to talk about Superman 2025 and Iron Man 2008, because having started the MCU with my son recently, watched Iron Man, and then, not too long later watched Superman, and I noticed like, oh, there's something in common here, and it's kind of bizarre because obviously the big thing with Superman, one of the big things that especially that Chuds are upset about is that it takes such a specifically geopolitical view of conflict, a specific conflict that somewhat resembles a couple of real life conflicts, maybe.
Just a teeny tiny little
bit.
The central plot of Superman, and I don't think this is a spoiler, it's in the trailer. If you haven't seen it, go see it. What are you doing?
Go see Superman.
Yeah, we should say there probably will be spoilers for Superman in this discussion.
There will be.
And Iron Man.
Yeah, if you haven't seen that yet,
Iron Man's been around for like 15
you don't
years.
like superhero movies if you haven't seen Iron Man. Come on.
Right, yeah, let's be real.
But so in Superman, he before the movie even starts, he has flown into a foreign nation, and essentially kind of tortured and like intimidated the leader of that nation to not do the fucking invasion of the poor, basically defenseless nation that he's trying to do. And that is the central through line through the whole movie, which comes to fruition at the end. And we'll get into how that plays out. But watching Iron Man does that too, in a way. Iron Man, one of his first act, really, once he builds his new armor, he gets back home, as a reminder for anybody who forgot, he gets taken captive after getting, injured by one of his own weapons in Afghanistan. He gets taken captive by the fictional terrorist group, the Ten Rings. And then they try to ransom him. But instead, him and another guy that's captive, Yinsen, build, first of all, the arc reactor that's going to keep the shrapnel out of his heart, but it also powers the first Iron Man armor, which he then uses to just utterly annihilate everybody in this camp, as well as all the weapons of his that they've fucking collected and stolen. Gets the fuck out of there. Then he gets home, and then he hears that from Christine Everhart, the reporter, that the very same village that Yinsen, who tragically died and inspired Iron Man to be a better man on the way out of the cave there, that the village he's from, that his family, well, his family's gone now that I remember, but that's the village he's from, Gulmira, is currently being taken over and terrorized by the Ten Rings. And Iron Man says, fuck this. And he fucking, for the first time, puts on the full, Mark II armor, and he flies over into Afghanistan, and we can take a look at what happens here.
He fucks some shit up.
No words, just starts fucking people up.
Just starts rolling on guys.
And if first time you see it, probably even seeing it now, it's a big like fuck yeah moment. Because political context aside, these are assholes that are bullying fucking families, right?
Right.
That's how you want to look at it. You can look at it that way, and it's totally valid. But on a more broad, level, this is an independent agent that is not acting on behalf of his country or anything. He's acting on behalf of himself, and he's going to fuck this shit up and fuck these guys up and save these people, as Superman does before Superman even starts. So these two things are in common, but the difference is what? Anybody want to go?
Well, there's a lot of differences. We could start with the fact that for Tony Stark, it's a personal connection.
Yeah.
And for
Which
Superman,
is very much in line with the era, right? Because 9/11, personal vendetta against these motherfuckers. Fuck you. You did this to something I care about.
yeah.
Not, whereas Superman, go ahead. Sorry.
For Superman, it's a matter of principle. War is wrong, and mass murder is wrong. So he's going to stop it. Doesn't matter what the people who are being targeted did, or what kind of people they are, or what his relationship to them is.
Iron Man is in the right, but it's only just kind of accidentally, basically.
Yeah. And the second big difference I noticed anyway, is that in Iron Man, the people he's attacking are not nominal allies of the United States. Whereas in Superman, the people he stops are allies of the United States.
True.
Yeah, it's a big part of the rest of the plot of the movie.
Yeah.
And then, to extend outside of these individual movies, past this movie, there's a line in the beginning of Iron Man 2 where he says, I've privatized world peace. Okay, great. Show us that. No, you're not going to. Okay, we're not going to see any of that. You just said it. Okay. But Superman, it seems like, is setting up a status quo that will continue on, where we will see more, hopefully, of the ramifications of this dynamic of a superhero who's not acting on behalf of a state, but nonetheless interfering with states' conflicts overseas. Right.
Because spoiler alert, spoilers for Superman. At the end of the movie, it's like the same country invades Boravia, the country he stopped, invades the neighboring country, Jarhanpur, and begins to carry out its genocide. And it is not Superman who stops them. It's the Justice Gang, because they've been inspired by Superman. And that's another big difference between these two starts of cinematic universes here.
Yep. And I want to kind of just play a little bit of devil's advocate here. Is it kind of a cop-out in Superman that they don't show the original thing? Do you think that we would probably I feel like we would view Superman differently if the opening scene was him grabbing the fucking leader and putting him up against a cactus and, wagging his finger at him, right? Like that would be a totally different opening scene to this new Superman, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be, for sure.
I don't think it's a cop-out, though. Because at least not a narrative cop-out.
Sure.
But because we don't really need to see that to understand the story. And he does get called on it by Lois Lane.
Script structure wise, it's pretty flawless. I think it opens on the scenes it needs to open on. Yeah. But she calls it out. He describes, they describe exactly what he did. And in the moment, in the watching, I was like, holy shit, Superman. Like, even though he didn't do anything to really damage him, that's a bold ass move for a head of a state to, do that to a head of a state.
Yeah. And the Superman, one of the final scenes in Superman is Rick Flag Sr. and some Defense Department official having a conversation to the effect of, well, Rick Flag, what do you say now that the metahumans are deciding policy for us or have their own agenda or whatever it is, which did not happen in Iron Man. Iron Man just went back to whatever the status quo was before the movie began.
I would say it's kind of worse than that. I'd say Iron Man, the MCU does cop out, because the next time that we see anything remotely related to the topic we're talking about is basically Avengers Age of Ultron. When we see that Stark just flies his fucking, drones into Sokovia. Now he's doing the right thing. He's doing the good thing. He's doing the heroic thing. However, he is just some independent agent flying his drones into a country. Of course, he's cleaning up his own mess.
Right.
Which arguably he's doing in this as well. That's exactly what, not even arguably, that's what he's doing.
That's what he's doing. Yeah, that's the premise of the movie.
But yeah, so then, and the only time that ever becomes an issue really is in Civil War, but kind of only tangentially, because it's not about the other countries getting mad at him, at the Avengers. It's about America getting mad at the Avengers, basically.
Well, and Wakanda in Civil War, because
Sure.
the
Well, I
whole
mean, that happened before Wakanda even, Wakanda, before, what's his name, got blowed up. They were already doing the Sokovia Accords. So
they were already working on it, yeah.
What
That's
did
true.
it? But yeah, who knows? Maybe they won't veer so far into this territory in the next DCU film. Maybe they will. I hope they do. But I just thought it was really interesting kind of dynamic, considering the politics at play in 2008 were very much still in, the attitude towards the war was shifting for sure.
Right. We were at the point, because when this movie starts production, it's 2006, 2007, and but by and large, the American populace is done with this war. Like these wars,
the Iraq War for sure, but
especially the Iraq War.
And yet, the politics of the scene we're watching right now are essentially pro global war on terror.
Right. It is a pro U.S. interventionalist scene, where literally the human embodiment of the military industrial complex is doing an armed intervention. But in a way that, like, to put the nuance back into the scene, is that he is taking responsibility for that his company's weapons are being used by both sides of the war, and he's trying to stop that and take it into his own hands because he feels responsible that people are killing with things he's built.
Yeah. Which, kind of takes us into, where did the Taliban get their weapons, actually?
Well, yes, exactly. For those who don't know, the Taliban was once enemies with the USSR. Well, the thing that became the Taliban.
Yeah, the Mujahideen.
Mujahideen, yes. And they
you
were
ever watch
armed.
Rambo 3, right?
Yeah.
3 is the
Rambo 3 is Rambo 2 is somewhere in Southeast Asia, Laos.
Right. So it's a little bit of a misconception to say that the U.S. gave weapons directly to the Taliban. What we did was flood the zone of the Afghan resistance to the Soviet Union with our weapons
to fight the USSR that we didn't think about. What would happen maybe if eventually they don't like us anymore? Oh, they might shoot us with these. Gotcha.
Our goal was to turn Afghanistan into the Soviet version of the Vietnam War, into like an intractable, unwinnable, asymmetrical conflict. And downstream of that, after the Soviets left, there were all these American weapons floating around, and Soviet weapons.
And Soviet weapons too, yeah.
And the people who would become the Taliban got a hold of them and used them for terrible things.
Right.
Only if they explicitly state they're Nazis.
Yes.
Yeah. We'll talk more about that when we get to the Captain America films, I'm sure.
We'll get to that. Absolutely. So, if you like this segment, be sure to like this stream and leave a comment. Let us know that you like this segment and you want to see more of conversations like this. And we will definitely do it because we love, movies. And more than we love movies, we love picking apart movies. Yeah. Every frame a fucking pause, guys, or whatever.
Nope. We let the movie go. We don't need to pause every frame because that's not how stories work. Oh, wretch.
Tony gets a pass from folks because he's an industrial superhero, whereas Superman has been a long-standing symbol for the U.S. Yeah, I mean, Tony gets a pass because eventually he becomes the greatest hero in the world. Basically,
well,
you know what I mean?
I think the reason that Tony gets a pass from like the viewing audience is that nobody, like the general audience, didn't know who Iron Man was when this movie came out because he was a villain in the comics at the time, right? We're talking about the Civil War era where Tony is not a.
So this would be a great segment. Maybe I still probably should do a video on it actually, but it's a long one I've long had in the pipe, comparing the criticisms of Wanda that she's gotten versus Tony, and just how it's sexism, guys. Because holy shit,
yeah,
this dude has killed so many people before we even meet him. he's responsible for so much death.
Like when we do the flashbacks, right? Because he gets blown up, and we get the flashbacks to like him getting the award, or rather, the award being accepted for him. That award was for being an arms manufacturer for the military.
Right.
So
He was a war criminal.
It kind of makes me appreciate the screenwriting of that first Iron Man movie, because in a way he doesn't give a fuck about that award. So maybe he's already disconnecting from wanting to be known for that anyway. You know what I mean? He's like, he was born into it. Let's be real. He was born into it.
Sure.
That's not to say that he, has no agency. It's not to say that he had to continue on from the moment it was handed down to him, but he did until suddenly it affected him personally.
And that's another important difference here. The attitude towards billionaires in these two movies is very different as well.
Very different.
Because this Iron Man is from an era where people actually thought Elon Musk was smart, and that pop culture anyway equated being rich with being smart and exceptional. That that it bought into the myth that rich people deserve what they have because they all worked hard and are geniuses or whatever. And
we
will definitely get into this with the details. I mean, there's political stuff to discuss in Iron Man 2 and 3.
Oh yeah.
So definitely we're gonna get there.
With what America felt about the rich, especially when it comes to like these tech billionaires that were media. I don't want to say media savvy, but were in the media. Your Bill Gates as your Steve Jobs, is that these were people who on the surface were very intelligent, and I think Steve Jobs is a very intelligent marketeer. I don't think he was a very intelligent engineer. And Bill Gates is... That's a mixed record we don't have time for.
He's on the list.
He's on the list.
Bill
Gates is divorced.
He's on the Epstein list.
He's on
the Express. So, I mean, basically... So yes, he stopped making weapons. Then he made a far worse one. However... This is why I think Tony Stark is just a compelling character, because I'm not going to sit here and say that he's a bad guy, because because look, it's good to have both types of superheroes, in my opinion. Good to have Superman and Captain America, who are essentially morally inflexible and perfect guys, right? And they're going to do the right thing no matter what, right? But people aren't like that. And if the point of superhero content is to inspire people to rise above their base natures or their worst impulses or whatever, then it's good to have examples of guys like Tony Stark or Daredevil, or Spider-Man, like any number of Batman characters that like are not perfect, and yet they still try to do the right thing anyway, right? Like, and it's really easy, in my opinion, to like a lot of leftist content does this, where they criticize these types of characters as if they are just inherently bad or something. I think that's bullshit.
So one thing I want to think about here is when it's sort of an Iron Man 2 topic, but when Tony says that he privatizes world peace, do we see a international incident while he's alive, like a shooting war or something that approaches that? Like, I don't remember there being one.
It doesn't get it back into anything like that until Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I think.
Right. So like,
right.
I mean, the closest would be like I guess Zemo and Sokovia, but that's really just a one agent guy,
right? Just one guy,
right? The MCU never really engages with its own global politics,
right? Until
much later, and the implications of privatizing world peace are pretty scary,
right? Well, I think
if you think about it in a real world context.
Oh yeah.
So
we kind of have one. When you think about the mercenary groups and shit like that.
They could have explored that in an Iron Man movie where there's two different visions of privatizing world peace, and the villains are like the mercenary groups or whatever. And
I think
Tony,
that was Iron Man 2, right? With the hammer drones.
That was also Iron Man 3, though, I think, because Tony literally, you've got a fucking the Mandarin, right? He's not really the Mandarin, but it's really, what's his name? But surprise, it's a billionaire.
Right. It's
billionaire. It's AIM, and they're doing terrorism shit. And Tony specifically is like, I'm going to fucking deal with this. Here's how I'm going to deal with it. Oh, wait, you bombed me. I'm kind of fucked now, but nonetheless.
Right. But the plot doesn't revolve around a specific global conflict.
Right.
Excuse me. It's always like a personal vendetta for Tony.
Right.
Which fits his character. That's fine. Yeah. But the politics of
the politics of the MCU became divorced from IRL in that first Iron Man movie, Be basically like anything that they would have done should have been a different kind of thing, because, and that's why, like, I think that, it's only at that point it starts only dealing with the consequences of in-universe conflict, like the blip and all of the displacement that came from that and stuff like that. So but
I also think that this there is another movie that does touch on not contemporary real world politics, but real world politics, and that's the first Captain America movie.
Yeah.
Which very much is grounded in the history of World War II, a fantastical version of it for sure. And I think it's kind of, we'll get into that movie when we get to it, but I think how it handles the Nazis versus Hydra, like comparing and contrasting those two things, I think is a little ham-fisted.
You know what it does? You know what the MCU does that I'm glad that they kind of got it, did away with it pretty quickly, is SHIELD becomes just like the accepted America / global police.
Yeah.
They're an Americanized military force that just is like, well, we're global, deal with it. Like,
it's
and
super
it's like,
NATO.
It's super NATO. Yeah. And excellent choice for the story. In Captain America 2, they fucking blow that shit up, because guess what? It got infiltrated by Nazis.
Right. Getting rid of SHIELD was one of the smartest things the MCU ever did.
Absolutely.
And not just because it made the SHIELD TV show watchable.
That's a big reason, though. The Iron Man 2 does show in a very RoboCop 2 type of scene, because I was just watching that earlier, by the way. RoboCop 2. It's better than I remembered. It really is.
That's a low bar, though.
There's a scene. There's a pretty heartbreaking scene. I won't get into it. It's not what we're talking about. But like, this scene was definitely inspired by it, where they're like showing the different attempts to recreate the thing. And, of course, in RoboCop, it's rated R, and it's much more horrifying. The first one, the RoboCop 2 that they introduced, comes out, and it fucking shoots one of the scientists and then fucking blows its own brains out. And then the second one that comes out fucking rips its helmet off, and there's like a fleshy skull underneath that's screaming. And it's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
They keep going crazy. But yeah, a similar thing happens in Iron Man 2 with the footage they're watching, where they just kind of like, that one just kind of collapses in on itself, and it's like, there's a guy in there. Anyway.
So I think with this is kind of the last time that the MCU definitely touches on a real world politics. Even people are mentioning the blip in chat, and like, somehow the MCU hasn't used the blip as an allegory for COVID.
I think it would maybe be in poor taste due to the many, many deaths that they're not coming back.
That's true, but they also use the Middle Eastern conflicts the U.S. was involved with, where also many, many people weren't coming back, and those conflicts were also ongoing.
But they didn't show. I think it's a little bit different. I think it is.
It is different. It's not a 1-to-1 comparison for sure.
Because while that may have affected some people who had family that are service members or whatever, literally everybody was affected by COVID to a degree,
True.
and it would be a little bit more yikes. Not to mention the politicization from the right, in particular, of COVID, would make there'd just be a lot of rejection of the thing outright. I don't know. It just seems.
That's fair. That's interesting.
Seems
point.
iffy. Seems iffy.
I think it is. I think you're right, but I think it's interesting that like we have this 5-year gap that's introduced, and COVID is ongoing, right? That has not gone anywhere. People are still getting sick.
I mean, super chats and channel memberships definitely help us. Will influence me to take time out of what we're already doing sometimes.
Yeah.
But not just like, I don't even know what that is, honestly.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is.
I just want to circle back to Iron Man 1 versus Superman and point out that the aesthetic of global politics in Iron Man and for a lot of the MCU is that America is the good guys.
Mm-hmm.
And
Definitely.
in Superman, we are very clearly not. We're not necessarily the villains.
Not the bad guys, but
we're on the wrong side. We're on the wrong side of a political conflict.
Aligned with the villains, kind of either naively or knowingly. It doesn't really go out of its way to say that, but it is.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see if the DCU sticks with that going forward in future movies.
RoboCop 1 used Houston for Detroit too.
Huh.
Yeah.
Did not know that.
There is an excellent multi-part documentary on the Bezos network. If you have that, I wouldn't recommend getting it if you don't have it. But Seek it out. It's fucking good. It's called RoboDoc. Very good.
Huh. But yeah, I think it is interesting that, like, yes, in Superman, the U.S. is apathetic to there are individual good people in the United States, the American cast of the story, but as a nation and a populace, we're at best apathetic to the situation. It's like there are allies, and we probably should just let them do what they want, and like Superman should stay the fuck out, and like.
I just realized you could literally still see RoboCop 2 right there on the TV. No, it wasn't lying, folks.
I believe you.
Might be on Tubi. I don't know. Look it up. Find it. You know, it might be on the open seas. You never know.
You never know. Lots of things on the ocean.
Yeah. So anyway, in Iron Man, just the movie Iron Man, Tony Stark is more or less the personification of the U.S. military industrial complex, being the good guy. And in Superman, just the movie Superman, which is all we have to go on right now.
Right, yeah.
Superman is the personification of a higher ideal than just nationalist politics. And the people that the U.S. identifies as bad guys are not necessarily actually the bad guys.
Which is, if you were ever on board for the, war in the Middle East that happened after post 9/11, if you were on board for, I was all for it right at first. You shouldn't feel bad about that, because, it definitely hit a personal soft spot of, not just like America rah rah, but like, holy shit, we took our safety and security for granted. And, it's kind of natural to just want to fucking get back at whoever did that, right? But that's obviously not what was done. It was used for nefarious means, but that just goes to show how those very valid feelings of like, we have to get even, can be co-opted, and probably will be co-opted by fucking like darker forces that want to, use it for their own ends. Blood for oil type shit.
I think we see the movie criticize the, for lack of a better term, the corruption of that ideal with how you have in terms of like, you have Rhodey, who is kind of trying to stop him for a good chunk of the movie, with like the scene where he's trying to avoid the airplanes and one of them gets shot down. He's got to save the guy. But also that like Tony doesn't get involved in the war after he escapes until he finds out Jensen's village was being attacked. And then for him, it's personal. There's sort of that personal element to it where I think it's kind of divorced from the nationalistic impulse that we had at the time as a country, because he wanted out until he realized that like they're still using his weapons to attack the people that someone he cared about, someone who died for him, died for.
So update: RoboDoc and the RoboCop trilogy and RoboCop the series. Wouldn't recommend that one. They're all on Tubi.
There you go.
And yeah, you know what? This is a good point, man. Like, and this is why I think it was very fucking wise of James Gunn to not have shown, or in the end, literally have Superman go in and be the one that, save him. That instead, his ideal, because yeah, you just have to trust that anybody that had the power to do something like that was going to do the right thing, and you can't really trust that. It almost certainly wouldn't happen that way. That's why Superman is a fantasy.
Right. Well, I think
that type of ideal can inspire people who, are regular people who maybe have the power to influence, to try to, push for, or even do the right thing at the right moment.
And it's very telling that there's no scene after that, because if you watch the third act intervention between Boravia by the Justice Gang, they very obviously kill people.
Yeah. And
there is no scene where Superman afterwards lectures them about killing people, and the US government kind of just rolls over and takes it.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, well, I guess this is the new status quo.
Well, and we
superheroes are doing their thing now.
We even see the Justice Gang's backer in Maxwell Lord in one of the TV clips that like doesn't addresses how everyone hates Lex Luthor, right? Like,
right.
He is spinning this for his own agenda, which, we're all going to dunk on Lex Luthor because fuck that guy. But it's interesting that like no one there is no commentary that the Justice Gang went over and did that.
Right.
And I
so
think
that
because,
leaves us. Go ahead.
Okay, so that I think part of it is that because Superman already did it, right? It's already happened once. Superman went over there and stopped the war. When we see like how cooked we are as a culture, once someone does one bad thing or one out of the normal thing, it becomes more and more acceptable for that thing to continue to happen. I mean, look at how we handle school shootings and anti-vaxxers and all sorts of nonsense, right? Like, eventually it just becomes normalized. And I think that one of the things the DCU could do going forward is build on the normalization of this behavior, as we saw in Superman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. It kind of leaves us with the conclusion that the film is telling us that what the Justice Gang did was unambiguously the right thing to do. That in situations where one country is invading a smaller defenseless country to do a genocide, the right thing to do is intervene unilaterally with lethal force to stop them.
Right. That is the message of the movie, it would seem.
Yeah. So, will that be the message of the DCU going forward? I personally doubt it, but they obviously are going to explore this plot thread in future projects.
So I think it's interesting to tie it to, because I don't think they're going to be in the same continuity, but the Suicide Squad kind of has a not dissimilar beat in its third act, where they can go home, right? Like, even like the guy they were there to kill is dead.
And they very likely, or their heads are going to be exploded for doing the right thing.
For doing the right thing,
Yeah.
but they
Only
do
by
the right thing.
Yep.
I'm curious, and they kill a lot of people in that because of Starro bullshit. But like this, like ignoring the politics and doing the right thing seems to be a theme in both of James Gunn's DC movie projects.
I think that's very, very interesting that James Gunn specifically wrote this way, right? Like he's saying we should strive for the right thing, and no, I'm not going to dirty Superman's hands because he wouldn't do that. But Hot Girl would, because she's just literally a fucking warrior, alien warrior lady.
Right. So we don't know if this one's an alien. Do we know if this one's an alien warrior? We
don't know anything about her yet.
Yeah, they didn't say whether she's Thanagarian or not. So we'll have to wait.
They've changed the Hot Girl and Hawkman's origins so much.
So many times,
yeah.
I want to point out this one other thing here that, like, what does this say? I feel like this is somewhat in defense of Iron Man's intervention here. He grabs the guy. He's all yours. Right? He gives them to the people.
Yeah.
He doesn't take care of himself. He's not a threat to them, so he knows he can just say, like, here, do your justice. That's not, I'm here to protect and I'm out. So I think that's a point in his favor with this intervention, right?
Yeah. In the context of the movie, this is a point in his favor. In the context of the meta narrative of the movie, this is the U.S. being greeted as liberators by the Middle Eastern country we invaded. That's what this is playing out. And that didn't turn out so well.
I also think that it's sort of an optimistic take that, like, we can help the people there, however you want to describe them.
I mean, this is essentially what we did to Saddam Hussein.
Right.
I think every Lantern's kind of at least temporarily been a Red Lantern for one reason or another, just for, got to do this to beat the bad guy kind of thing. Anyway.
Yeah, Supergirl was a Red Lantern for a story arc in the New 52.
Yep.
Which is one of the cooler things the New 52 did.
What would be interesting is we're getting her movie next year, and we're getting season 1 of Lanterns next year as well. Mm-hmm. Season 2 of Lanterns could tell that story, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I do think it's telling that
I thought
the show
was
Bin
Laden that was like in love with Condoleezza Rice. Maybe both of them. I'm pretty sure Bin Laden was like it was confirmed that he had like a big fascination with Condoleezza Rice, like he was into her.
Oh,
I mean,
who knows? But I think it's referring to what Morgan just said.
Yeah.
I think it's telling that the show is called Lanterns and not Green Lanterns, because that strongly implies to me that we're going to see the other Lantern Corps at least once or twice in that show.
I would think that Lanterns would build into a pretty epic movie. I imagine that's what at least ostensibly going to be the plan. Assuming they can get people to watch it and they can do a story that.
Well, it's nice that we finally
starts on the ground and then builds up. That would be fucking awesome.
Well, it's cool that we finally had our first depiction of a real Green Lantern in a live action movie.
And not just any, but Guy Gardner. And he's just fucking, I saw some chuds trying to be like, oh, that's so edgy. No, it's just characterization. That's Guy
just
Gardner.
Guy Gardner.
Doing middle fingers as he's killing these fucking guys is fucking awesome.
It's a comic accurate Guy Gardner. Yeah.
That's Guy, man.
That's just the guy. Yeah.
So I'm sort of hoping that whatever the big meta narrative of the DCU is over the next 10 years, that it's going to be a Green Lantern Corps centered story. That would be like if we got like the War of Light, or
I would say, I would much rather have
like
the War of Light over doing more New God stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think that's the way to separate it. And I think, honestly, it really kind of seems like that would be right up James Gunn's alley as far as the choice he would make for overarching story.
Yeah. There's two other choices I think he could make.
It's so unique, but it's also visually going to be a feast, which James Gunn definitely thinks about all the time, right? Like, so, what were you going to say? The other two?
Oh, the other two that I think James Gunn could do that would set the DCU apart from the MCU quite starkly would be The Center, which was the story behind New Frontier.
Oh,
which is not. I don't think that's canon, but The Center is basically like an entity who lives at the center of the earth, and it is the island of the dinosaurs in DCU or in the DC comics. Or he could do the Legion of Doom.
Just do the Legion. Oh man,
because we haven't seen a team of villains in the MCU.
Yeah, we haven't. And
Did
the Legion of Doom is like
the building that they used for the Hall of Justice in the movie is actually the building that the cartoon Hall of Justice was modeled after originally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because at the time it was a train station they were building in Cleveland. Yeah, I've seen the building.
Awesome.
Yeah, Grand Theft Autobot, I know that New Frontier is not canon to DC Comics, but there's no reason it can't be canon to the DCU.
Superman, the message behind Superman coming to Earth being that he's supposed to, conquer and take up a harem is also not canon to mainstream continuity.
Right.
However, I do want to say that I saw from the Josh Horowitz Happy Sad Whatever podcast that's been dropping clips. The whole thing's up, but I've been seeing clips here and there of his discussion with James Gunn. Apparently, that is just what the message is, and that's what it's going to be going forward. They're not going to reveal like, oh no, it was mistranslated or something. That is what Superman's, which I think makes sense because it would kind of undermine his personal growth in the movie.
Right. That was Krypton, Jor-El trying to do white replacement theory on us.
Yep.
Right. And it's interesting to me that I haven't seen any of the chuds point out that's sort of like verifies their immigration narrative that the foreigners are all coming here to replace us.
Exactly. That's crazy that they haven't pointed that out. I mean, we're pointing out right now that is very specifically the absolute subconscious fear that drives all this fucking anti-immigration hate is that they're going to come here, they're going to take our women, they're going to fucking change our way of life, they're going to take our women and fucking impregnate them and make little babies that look more like them and fealty to them. Like that is the fucking sheer shit pants filling panic that fucking underlies all of this shit. And James Gunn just wrote it into Jor-El's mouth. It's pretty crazy.
Right. So, I mean, in the context of the movie, it's saying, yes, it's true. They do want to come here and take our women and replace us. And we're just lucky that Superman turned out to be such a decent guy that he wouldn't do that.
I know that you don't believe that. I'm going to push back on it anyway. In the context of the movie, it's saying that even if this was the case, it doesn't matter because every person decides what they're going to do, and they're nobody is beholden to their ancestors or their fucking parents or anything. And Superman, by taking thinking that the rest of the message just was like more about like, yeah, show him what's up, show him how to be a good person and stuff, and just otherwise be a cool guy, like his dad tells him. The fact that he assumed that's what it was says everything about him.